Today's homebuyer tip: why get pre-approved for your loan before it's go time? Okay, so here's the deal. It is super easy to get caught up looking online at houses, dreaming about what that next chapter will look like. But one of the biggest mistakes that I see homebuyers make is they jump into that online search before they get pre-approved and have substantive conversations with a lender to really get clarity around what they can afford. There are multiple reasons why this is super important, but we're going to talk through the biggest ones today. Number one, what you can afford on paper versus what you really want to spend. So oftentimes people get approved on paper for a number that is far higher than what they actually want to spend. So what I typically suggest to people is start with a household budget if you don't have one already. Look at what your comfortable monthly housing payment is. Then, if you're being really conservative, reduce it by a little bit. You have no idea when the next rainy day is coming. And at the end of the day, you don't want to max out what you're paying for your mortgage because you have to do things like pay for utilities and furnish it. That house looks awesome unless it's vacant and you can't afford to put furniture in it. So you shouldn't be maxing out what your comfortable household monthly housing payment is. Yeah, that's the point. So this is the number that you should be taking to your lender. And you should be working backwards based on your desired monthly payment, coupled with what down payment you have available to put down. You package this all up with your lender and decide what loan programs are available to you. That should give you your purchase price range, not the other way around where you say, okay, I can technically afford this on paper. And so we're just going to not even really think about what that monthly payment equates to. I can afford this on paper, which means my loan will get approved, which means this is the purchase price range that I should be looking in. The reality is your lender doesn't know about all of your spending habits. They don't know that you're on Amazon Prime at 1 a.m. and you spend hundreds of dollars a month. That's what your household budget tells you. So your lender is going to tell you what you can technically afford on paper, but that is a more limited view than what you can actually afford in reality. So reason number two, by sitting down with a lender and having the conversation around what you can actually afford, you gain an understanding that your mortgage payment is not just your principal and interest. Your mortgage payment is going to be comprised of 5 things: your principal, your interest, your taxes, your insurance, and any association dues. So for example, you might live in an HOA or be looking to live in an HOA that has an $80 a month HOA fee. You might be a first-time home buyer who's considering townhouses and condos. Those townhouses might have an $80 a month HOA fee, and those condos might have a $300 a month condo fee. All of those things obviously are part of your monthly payment. So what surprises people sometimes is they might look at what their comfortable monthly housing payment is, and you might be looking at condos and townhouses, and you might actually be able to afford a townhouse that is significantly more expensive in terms of the purchase price, but it's actually lower than a lower priced condo because the fees are so drastically different. So by sitting down with a lender and getting a full understanding of what comprises that payment, it gives you a lot of clarity into what direction you want to go. Number 3, you don't waste time or emotional energy. People are very surprised by how emotional this process becomes. If you're a second, third, fourth time home buyer, it's like labor. You forget how stressful it actually is and how much it hurts, okay? Then you jump back in, okay? If you're a first-time home buyer, you've never experienced it before, and you forget or you don't know that it is an emotional process. So you don't want to start it off with a disappointment. If you think that you can afford a $500,000 house and you've been looking for 6 months online at homes in your perfect neighborhood for $500,000, and then right before you're going to start looking, you have a conversation with a lender and you learn that actually you shouldn't be looking any higher than $450,000, you're going to be starting out with a disappointment, and none of those houses that you look at $450,000 are going to hold a candle to what you've been imagining for the 6 months in your mind. And number 4, you need to establish a good relationship with a local lender before you need them. So what a lot of first-time buyers don't realize is that that pre-approval letter that you're going to get from your lender is going to be part of any offer that you eventually make. You can't make an offer without it. So especially if you're in a competitive market, which is what we've seen around Northern Virginia in recent years, you need a lender who's going to be responsive, first thing a listing agent's going to do in a multiple offer situation, or otherwise, honestly, is pick up the phone and call your lender. So if your lender isn't responsive, doesn't know who you are, and can't have an intelligent conversation to give assurances to that listing agent that you're solid financially, you don't want your lender to be a negative attribute or variable for your contract package. You only want them to be a positive. And the way to make them be a positive and in your corner is to have a pre-established relationship with them. So you're actually making yourself a more competitive buyer in the eyes of the seller if you take the time to have all your ducks in a row when it comes to the financing. So there are a lot of reasons why you should be pre-approved before you start your active house hunt. But to summarize it, you want to manage your own expectations. And it's very, very easy. The fun part is the looking at houses. The fun part is the dreaming about the next chapter. The not so fun part for a lot of people is all of the numbers. But if you don't start there, then you're not managing your own expectations with what you can expect from the rest of the process. And oftentimes when people don't do things in the right order, they start the process off on the wrong foot, they might get discouraged, and it just doesn't feel right as they move through it, because in reality, they just kind of mixed up the order a bit. So get pre-approved before you start your active house hunt. If you need recommendation for awesome lenders, please let me know. And I hope this is helpful.